Diogo Gonçalves was born in 1999 in Albufeira, a coastal town in the Algarve region in southern Portugal. He was described as a young man who liked to stick to his routine and always stay close to his friends and family. Diogo came from a humble family and tried to improve his life by studying and looking for new income alternatives. Still in Albufeira, he completed his studies and began to dedicate himself to the priesthood, getting a job in the area. During his youth, Diogo went through several traumas. At the age of 17, he saw his father suffer a stroke and go into a vegetative state. His mother, with whom he was very attached and the main person responsible for encouraging him in his studies, was run over on her way to the commercial center of the city, where she worked with cleaning. The driver didn't help, and she died at the scene, abandoned. From then on, Diogo went to live with a maternal aunt with whom he did not have a good relationship. After a while, he rented a room at one of his friend's parents' house where he could feel more comfortable. During this same period, Diogo had gotten a new job at a hotel. There, he met Maria Moveiro, a 20-year-old girl who worked as a security guard at the place. Maria, like Diogo, also came from a low-income family. Her mother suffered from some mental conditions, while her father had abandoned the family when Maria was very young, and she barely remembered him. According to people close to her, Maria appeared to be a calm and patient person. She liked to practice martial arts and had a dream of joining the police, but she ended up being rejected because of a tattoo. Diogo began to be interested in Maria since he met her, while the young woman had a colder relationship with him. She didn't show much interest, but she didn't completely dismiss him either. According to a mutual friend of the two, Maria always said that she and Diogo were just friends. Diogo had already told that same friend that Maria liked him and that she only asked him to be patient because she had just gotten out of a troubled relationship with a boy who was assaulting her. For this friend, it was clear that Maria nourished Diogo's hopes even without having much interest in him. Fabio Costa, the young man's best friend, reports that he was really in love and obsessed with Maria, and that he even refused a good job offer in the city of Lisbon just to stay close to her. Also, according to Fabio, Diogo did everything to please Maria, taking her out to different places. The two were always together, as if they were really lovers, but nothing happened physically between them. That's because, as I already mentioned, Maria would have said that she just wanted to be friends with Diogo for now, as she had just gotten out of a troubled relationship. However, after a while, Diogo believed he had discovered the real reason why the girl rejected him. He found a video on Facebook of Maria, in which she appeared kissing another girl on the mouth. Diogo's best friend, Fabio, told him that some girls used to kiss their friend on the mouth, and that maybe Maria wasn't a lesbian, and that he would talk to her before drawing any conclusions. Despite all the bad things that happened in his life, Diogo always remained optimistic about the future. In 2020, at the age of 21, the young man had several projects and felt that things were really finally working out for him. However, his life would be tragically taken in a crime that shocked Portugal. In the previous year, more precisely December 2019, Diogo received compensation for his mother running over that occurred 3 years earlier in 2016. After a financial agreement with the insurance company of the person responsible for the accident, Diogo was paid 70,000 euros. With the money in his account, Diogo started looking for a house to buy so he wouldn't have to pay rent anymore. The boy even commented on the compensation with Maria, who shortly after decided to leave her job at the hotel where she worked with Diogo. She even told the mutual friend she had with Diogo that she had left the hotel because she couldn't stand people anymore, saying that she had an affair with the boy. She also said that she needed to spend more time with her mother, but it was all a lie. In fact, Maria's departure from the hotel was part of a plan that she and her girlfriend had devised and aimed at young Diogo. What many didn't know was that Maria was an unstable person who couldn't handle her love choices very well. She was in a relationship with Mariana Fonseca, a 24-year-old nurse. The two had lived together for about a year at Mariana's parents' house, as they didn't have money to buy their own place. They were looking then for a way to achieve financial independence to continue their lives together. From there, Diogo ended up becoming an easy prey for both of them. Maria and Mariana began to think of a way to steal the boy's money, get rid of him, and get away with the crime. They then went on to watch the series Dexter, which tells the story of a serial killer who kills criminals whose justice has not been able to arrest. On March 20, 2020, Diogo asked a colleague to switch shifts with him at the hotel, as she had a date with Maria. Hotel staff reported that Diogo was quite happy and nervous at the same time. The young man probably thought that Maria would finally give him a chance, even more so since the idea of the date came from her. The two agreed to meet at Diogo's house. He prepared lunch for them while Maria was in charge of the drink. She took orange juice to accompany the meal and put 3 ampoules of diazepam in the drink to dope the boy. The medicine had been stolen by Mariana, Maria's girlfriend from the hospital where she worked. After that, Maria pretended to be interested in Diogo and began to seduce him. She placed him on a chair in the middle of the room and told him to close his eyes, then tied him up. She kept the young man tied up and waited for the medicine to take effect. However, the drug didn't have the desired effect, probably due to the improper dissolution. It lost strength and was not enough to sedate Diogo. Seeing the situation get out of hand, Maria asked for support from her girlfriend who had been waiting for her in a car outside the whole time. Diogo was confused. At first, he didn't understand what was happening. According to sources, the boy asked the two to release him and became increasingly agitated. Maria ended up getting annoyed and applied a rare naked choke on Diogo. The boy managed to free himself and try to fight, but ended up being suffocated by the young woman. With Diogo dead, Maria and Mariana searched the boy's house in search of his bank password to gain access to the money. They managed to find it. However, the bank didn't allow withdrawals of more than 400 euros a day. Therefore, they decided to use Diogo's cell phone to make a direct transfer of a larger amount to the account of one of them. For this, they cut the boy's thumb with the intention of using it to unlock the cell phone and release the financial transaction. According to them in a later statement, they said they saw it in a movie and were surprised when it worked. After gaining access to the money, the two began to separate the body parts with a cleaver. They then put the parts in garbage bags and left it in the trunk of their car. Despite leaving several traces of the crime, the two were convinced that they would never be discovered. After the crime and with access to the victim's money, the two went shopping. They continued with Diogo's cell phone and finger to have access to his social network in an attempt to outwit his disappearance. They sent messages to the young man's co-worker posing as him, saying that he would not be going back to work because he had met a girl from France and was moving there. João, Diogo's boss, found this sudden change strange. He knew that the boy was responsible and that kind of attitude did not match his personality. The man then decided to call Diogo in an attempt to talk to him directly, but he had all his calls refused. By message, the young woman who pretended to be the boy said that he was not in a position to talk on the phone, asking that communication be only by text messages. João replied to the message, saying that it was all very strange and that he would only continue the conversation if his call was answered. 2 days after the crime, Maria and Mariana realized the idea of simulating Diogo's change of country had not worked out. The two then decided to get rid of all the victim's body parts. Maria took Diogo's car and started driving towards the village of Sagres. Mariana was right behind in another car. Upon arriving at the scene, the two threw body parts and the victim's cell phone from a cliff overlooking the sea. Afterwards, they went near an old fort where they abandoned the victim's car. Their intention was to make people think that Diogo had taken his own life by jumping off the cliff. The following night, the two went to the Tavira area and threw the remaining parts of the boy's body in a thicket. Diogo's car was found by people who realized that it was abandoned called the authorities. Police soon began searching for the young man nearby and found parts of a body under the rocks below a cliff. They suspected that it could be the young man, but it was necessary to make the identification first, which was later done and confirmed that it really was Diogo Gonzalez, 20 years old. The cruelty of the crime drew attention, mainly because the victim was a quiet boy, on good terms and without enemies. During investigations, the police discovered that Diogo had received a good amount of money due to compensation. Soon, they suspected that this could be linked to the crime, and whoever the perpetrator was aimed to gain access to his money. It didn't take long for the police to reach the two responsible for the crime, as there was a transfer of a considerable amount of money from the boy's account to the account of one of them. When they were caught, Maria tried to justify herself, saying that Diogo assaulted her and tried to abuse her, and for this reason she later killed him to get revenge. She also said that this happened at the time she worked at a hotel with the boy, and that was what motivated her to leave her job. However, telephone records show that after Maria left her job, her contact with Diogo intensified and she became increasingly close to the young man. Of course, her intention was to have the boy's confidence to be able to put her plan into practice, but the fact that she kept in touch with him in a friendly way made this version of hers to be denied. Maria at all times tried to convince the authorities that she was solely responsible for the crime, assuming all responsibility and denying her girlfriend's participation. But Mariana, Maria's girlfriend, refused to remain silent and decided to make statements, further complicating the situation of the two, since according to Mariana herself, Diogo never assaulted, much less tried to abuse Maria. Mariana also said that Maria came to her one day and said that she had a plan to take money from a person who had no parents, but that at first she had no intention of killing him. The idea was to tie him up and force him to say the card password. During the trial, the young women were asked who had to cut the body. Mariana even said that because she was a nurse, everyone thought it was her, but that it was enough for someone to consult the internet and they would find sites teaching how to perform the procedure, and that anyone could do it even without any experience. Maria reinforced this explanation, saying that her girlfriend only helped with the lighting of the place and that she took care of everything else. They also mentioned the Dexter series, saying that they started to watch it and were inspired by it to commit and try to hide all the clues that could lead to them, but it didn't work out very well. There was more than enough evidence to link the two to the crime, from phone records to security camera footage, showing them withdrawing money from the victim. The court then determined, as proved, that Maria Malverio killed Diogo Gonzalez, but they were unable to prove Mariana Fonseca's full participation in the crime. With that, in April 2021, Maria Malverio was sentenced to 25 years in prison, while Mariana was sentenced to a sentence of 4 years, which was later converted so that she could respond to freedom. This ended up generating revolt among the Portuguese, since it was more than clear that Mariana had indeed participated in the crime. In addition to the convictions, Maria will have to pay compensation of more than 260,000 euros to Diogo's father, while Mariana will have to pay only 350 euros. This crime was widely reported in Portugal. Many are angry with Mariana's life conviction, but there is still the possibility that the court will reverse the sentence and she will go to prison at once. On December 29, 2021, Maria was found lifeless in her cell. She was hanging from a sheet on the outer bars of the cell. Firefighters tried to revive her, but to no avail. This was the sad story of Diogo Gonzalez, a boy who had his life cut short because of the greed of two people. Well folks, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Best wishes, and I see you next time.